Hello. So today we are going to go a bit deeper into this, and I know based on the title, some of you are going to be questioning, what the fuck are you saying? Well, hopefully, if you give me enough time here, you will understand. And also, I do think that if you understand the message that I will tell, based on everything that's going on here, if you have not been experienced with this life lesson, that you might actually end up saving at least 1 year, if not more, of your emotional time. Because there's a message that is not being sent here that I think is vital. Because there's one thing all these girls have in common that they could have done to prevent themselves from feeling like they got led on. However, that thing has also been addressed in some of these, yet they've chose to continue. And yeah, as I'd say here, objectively speaking, not subjective, I don't think NETHERIM is guilty of much. Especially not leading on manipulation and all the other things that has been going on here. I've gone over this whole document once again, and most of the conversations here are just things they've had with other people. And I will just continue, go off by saying at first that the fact that the DMs were leaked, even though they promised or said they wouldn't, I have a problem with that. I think that is bad of them. I don't think this should have happened. And it sends a bad signal to everyone else too. And I will elaborate that on another video, because these documents that continuously keep coming out are creating some problems for other streamers. And it helps breed and cultivate this here exact thing. So whereas you are trying to stop something, instead what you're doing is you are just provoking it. Okay? It is good to practice proper communication and learning how to deal with things. And to not try and confront people in person and deal with things privately is wrong, I think. You can make the argument that he's a public figure, but these are private relationships. They are not public relationships. Even bigger streamers like XQC have had things dealt in the backgrounds, right? And even bigger celebrities will literally have lawyers involved to sign things to prevent things like this from happening. Because at the end of the day, it will most likely get posted. So, the reason why I say that I believe that for the most part, NETHERIM is innocent, based on the objective truth, is that because they've all had relationships, right? Or they've been together or had some form of thing going on. But it has never been established that they are actually together. Right? And that is my lesson here. Before I continue going on, because I want to give this relatively early, is that if you are with another person and you have interest towards them, we're all different. So it's important to have a mutual understanding of where we are at. And I've experienced this and I've learned from it. And I'm sure a million other people have to, or billions even. It is something most people will have to deal with at some point in their life. And people will use words differently and be different in general. Like some people will say love you very loosely. Some people will say on the first interaction they ever have with a human being that they want to marry them. But that does not necessarily mean as that. It's a honeymoon phase, and that's the only thing. The biggest drawaway from this here is that NETHERIM is just speedrunning the honeymoon phase and then going next, right? But other than that, I haven't really seen many problems in that sense. At any point, regardless of what he said or did, whatever they thought was going on, they all assumed. But not one single one of these, or any of these, did take the time to just stop and ask NETHERIM, hi NETHERIM, this is a serious question. What are we? Are we exclusive? Are we not exclusive? Because when I say the objective reality, you might disagree that it's wrong to be with multiple people or date multiple people, but it is completely normal. And for girls to date or be with see multiple guys before they figure out something, it happens. And oftentimes, in most cases, it's the guy that has to be assertive and be like, hey, I like you, I want to be exclusive with you. And like the girl has to be the one to be captured. But here it's in reverse. And in that sense, I can understand that they are more likely to be subjected to this because they are less likely to have experienced this. Because in most cases throughout their lives, they're all 26, 25, whatever. They've probably always had the guy be that guy, right? So they've never they've never experienced this. But just like girls, guys can do it too. And just like guys asking girls, are we exclusive? Are we not exclusive? Girls can do that too. And that is something they've all failed. I mean, they've done that and they've asked, and he's given an honest answer. He's like, I'm not feeling it right now, blah, 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 right? So he didn't really lead anyone on. At any point could they have just asked, are we exclusive, are we not? If they are not exclusive, then he can talk to as many girls as he wants, unless he says they're exclusive. If they have a problem with him talking to other people and not being exclusive at any point during the dating thing, they are free to stop talking to him. Not throughout any of these discussions here, anything that's been said, have I read anything about abuse. I've read the words manipulation, but that is such a vague line, as has been mentioned by many other people. And the things that I mentioned here in terms of manipulation, we have this one here, where the only thing is this grasp of overshadowed by fear of being abandoned. That's it. Because another problem here, most of the conversations he probably has with these people are through text messages. And the big problem with text messages is often misunderstanding. Because when you ask someone in text, how are you? And they say, I'm fine. You didn't get to hear them say it. You didn't get to see them when they said it. So you don't get that complete confirmation. So you begin to think maybe they're not fine, they're just saying it, blah, blah, blah. And all these things are running through your head. And there's been multiple studies in this certain thing here in terms of communicating, where you might message your girlfriend, be like, hey, can you get some milk from the store? And they will just say, okay, end, and a dot. And then you're like, wow, that's a cold response. Are they mad at me now? Just because oftentimes throughout their entire relationship, they will say, okay, heart. But then you begin to doubt and question it, it just goes to your head, but it's just mental, right? In your head, I mean by that. Because that's their problem. I mean, I've had this too. I've ran through this. I've talked to people, asked how they're doing, and I get cold responses, and I begin to question everything. And that's just how it is. But you have to be aware of that. But other than that here, I don't really see anything. It's obviously setting boundaries here, right? I mean, maybe it'd be rude, but so what? She's clearly pushing onto him, and he said he wanted to be alone. Right? There's no manipulation here. As for the second one here, where they had some drama through Patreon, he told her how to act publicly on his platform. Again, it is his platform, his stream, whatever. I have no idea how this works, but based on my understanding here, he's saying you can act as you want in private, but on my platform, you have to act a certain way because you are ruining everything. It's the same as if I have an IRL friend and I can be as rude as I want to that friend, but if he's going to constantly disrespect me on stream or wherever it may be, then other people are going to be like, wow, this guy's just taking all the time, and it's going to lose respect, right? It's obviously you want your friends to be a certain way on stream, but in private it's fine. It's a completely different environment. It's to tell someone to act a certain way on your platform, it's not manipulation. Because the other result here would be just, we're not going to do that anymore. Right? If you cannot do that, then you're not welcome. I would do the same. I frequently tell my friends, if we're on Discord or something, or just don't be fucking cringe. Stop. I even banned them. I don't give a fuck. Stop acting this way. Right? It's not manipulation. It's their platform. They have the right to do as with that platform as they wish. And then it's your private relationship. But again, nothing of what was said here is that he's telling you cannot do this in private. He's just saying you cannot do this publicly on my platform. There's nothing wrong with that. It is not manipulation. Let's just make that clear. So, to say that they got led on, I don't really believe. They are all incredibly gullible, and I'm extremely surprised, and I'm sure there are some negative things there. People will go into the things that he said, but at the end of the day, it was reciprocated, right? Everything was reciprocated. Nothing was forced. We can even see some part here where it's like he says something to one girl and she's like, "You can all leave with that," and they end up having a conversation for 5 hours. And then now you can imagine what went on for those 5 hours. But it's what it is. Like nothing was forced there. He wasn't holding any hostage. Like sure, he could have been a better person. Sure, you can say it's bad. Like you can have the opinion that you don't want to be with someone that isn't like willing to be in a close relationship or be exclusive and like dates like multiple people at the same time. But at the end of the day, it's their choice, right? NETHERIM isn't really doing anything wrong with that. Subjectively, maybe, but objectively, it's not wrong, right? And that he tells other people he wants a break, and that during that break, that he talks to other people. Are we gonna forget this here? Like this is a common phenomenon, right? Where it's like, I'm really confused. I think we should take a break. Okay, 1 week later, guy's depressed, girl seeing other people, right? It's not unknown that when girls says they want a break, it just means that they are trying to distance themselves to like try and get rid of their emotions so they can move on more easily. So then when the break is over, they tell you they've been thinking. Like that happens frequently, right? But like, of course, it's negative. He's just speedrunning the honeymoon phase, obviously, right? Like you can see that I love you and that's normal. But at the end of the day, it doesn't mean as it says here, which is why it's important to sometimes just take a break from all that like goo and just take a step back and just reflect. And that's another thing I want to just point out here, as a final like closing note for me, really, is that they said they've been thinking through things. Ella think. I've had things happen to me that has been very negative experiences too. You can blame other people as much as you want, but at the end of the day, what you should really try to do is just look what you could have done different, right? I mean, some people are obviously going to treat you very badly and you didn't really do anything wrong. But at the end of the day here, the fact that they didn't even come to the conclusion that they should have like distanced themselves like when they realized they were talking to other people or something is bad. The fact that they chose to like break promises and like things that were agreed upon is bad. Like they said they wouldn't send like leak or like be respect the privacy, but they didn't. Right? I think that's bad. He didn't. He said he never said they were exclusive. He didn't gaslight anyone here into saying they're like together and then went behind their back. He always said he wasn't like ready for that, and that's fine. Like objectively, you cannot say it's wrong because if you have a problem with it, you can just step back. He's not holding you with a gun here. We have to remember that. And just because you dislike what he's saying does not make him bad as well. But again, I'm sure there's certain things to nitpick at. Like I saw one thing that I didn't really think was nice, which was the projecting. But other than that, like in the grand scheme of things, it really isn't as bad as it looks here. Like most of these things, and I don't really appreciate this whole thing here, and that's something I'll cover in another video. But my overall message based on all these things here is if you ever get in a relationship or like you have an interest in someone, try and establish a common understanding of where you're at. Do not waste time or like just sit there assuming that you are something without clarifying with them. Okay? It is two people, and the only way to like really get to the bottom of things is to just talk together and just take a little break from this honeymoon thing. Right? Because at the end of the day, communication is key. And I think there's been some failures here on both parts. And again, I think it might be bad that NETHERIM is doing this, but he's free to do what he wants. He was open and honest about most of the things here. He chose to like not be very specific about certain things, and unfortunately, he's been proven right in that, based on the things that's happened here. He's been right in like being careful about sharing certain things because at the end of the day, they broke the promise here. So he was right about that. So I'm not going to hold that against him. Right? Until people are better, I'm not going to have a problem with that. Okay. So, yeah. I do hope in the future that we'll put a more focus on dealing with things privately. Because I think that a lot of these like name calling things, like keyboard target thing, is just gone way overboard, man. And like I don't even know this guy. I'm sure I don't even like this guy. But like everything here is not as bad as it looks. And that is my point. Both parties are bad probably. But NETHERIM is not the big villain here. Okay? The girls are extremely gullible based on what I've seen. The fact that they've continued after everything. And it's clearly been something to gain from them too, even though you might argue the power dynamic and everything. But it's just so absurd. And you might hate the fact that it's working. But that's just the reality of things, right? They clearly wanted something. Even though, yeah, I'm not going to get into that. So, yeah. Another reason why I wanted to kind of just focus on all these things here and like the psychological part and all of that is because Men's Awareness Month is coming up soon. And I think it is important to talk about. I don't mean to put girls in a bad light in the general sense. I'm just saying that they could have done a lot of things differently to prevent a lot of these things. And I do think that if they have the willingness to reflect on these things there, especially in particular, that they would eventually come to a different conclusion. But the problem is that they just grouped up and they decided he was the bad guy, and then they just fired everything at him and chose to like stop blaming or looking towards himself. So I do think that is important. So with that said, if you are having problems, then you can seek help. There's nothing wrong with that. I have done that in the past and I've had great results. And no one's going to hold that against you. I'm a 6'3" guy. That has no problem with anything, but we all have problems sometimes. And the brain is a mysterious thing. So, yeah. There is help. And, yeah. It does help to reflect, though. And just look back. And just try and improve. Like, just be better people. Unless it's the 0-10 jungler, then show no fucking mercy. Because that guy deserves nothing. But yeah, I don't want to make this too long. I kind of go across what I wanted here, but I don't think it is as bad as it is. I'm not saying that it's completely like free of like anything, but I do not think that these things are as bad as they are, and it's an incredible reach in the grand scheme of things. And I think that in the general sense that the girls have failed more than he has, because at least he was keeping true to most of his promises in the sense of like their privacy and everything else. Maybe they don't feel like they got respected as people, but that's just the reality. That's just how it is, and it happens, and it is something that happens to everyone. But there are things you can do to protect yourself from that, and that is to just ask, right? Don't assume. Don't live in a world of delusion. Try and face reality. It takes courage, but you will be way better off. Okay? It is hard to ask that question. But when you do, and you do decide to face reality, you will be happier and you'll waste less time. In return, you'll not be as mad as this year. It is what it is. But yeah, I'm curious again to hear your perspectives though. But I just generally think that both parties could have done better, and to say that they were getting led on, I think is wrong, because at any point here I could have asked, and from the 2 instances I've seen, he has answered and said he's not interested. So if they aren't interested in that, then they could have just quit. They were not being held at gunpoint. And yeah, that's it. Take care. Peace.